Jax Harlan stood in his climate-controlled garage, staring at the paper, and laughed so hard the sound echoed off the tool chests. These weren't rust buckets. These were 5 pristine classics worth north of $2.5 million. The Shelby, a 1970 Plymouth, Cuda with the original 426 Hemi, a 1969 Chevelle SS 454, a 1957 Thunderbird, and a 1965 Mustang GT 350. Every one registered, insured, appraised, and babbied like family. But according to Patty, if they hadn't left the property in 30 days, they were junk. The next morning Jax marched into the HOA office, still smelling of motor oil. Patty sat behind her desk like a queen on a throne of laminated rules, blonde helmet hair shellacked into submission, lips pursed in that permanent, I know better smirk. "Mr. Harlan," she said without looking up, "your garage is an eyesore. Multiple complaints. We have standards here." Jax leaned on the desk, tattoos flexing across his forearms. "Standards? Lady, those cars are worth more than every beige McMansion on this block combined. They're fully insured, titled, and cleaner than your conscience. Show me the part of the bylaws that says they gotta do burnouts every 30 days to stay legal." Patty finally met his eyes, smile tight as her Botox. "The definition of non-operational is clear. Any vehicle that has not been driven off the premises in 30 days. Residents reported your garage door open. We're simply enforcing community harmony." "Harmony," Jax repeated, tasting the word like spoiled milk. "Funny how harmony only seems to apply to folks who don't fit your little step-forward vision. Blue-collar guy with loud engines and visible ink? Must be a threat." She slid a fresh folder across the desk. 10 days to remedy, or fines escalate to $500 per day. "Nothing personal, Mr. Harlan." Jax took the folder and smiled slow, the kind of smile that had once made drill sergeants nervous back in his Marine days. "Oh, it's about to get very personal, Patty." He didn't storm out swinging. Instead he went home, opened the old fireproof box labeled paperwork, and laid every title, registration, insurance binder, and appraisal on the workbench like battle plans. Then he pulled the HOA's own bylaws, the 87-page monstrosity they mailed once a year and nobody read. Page 34, Section 7.2. All enforcement actions require written warning and 14-day cure period before any fine. Page 12, Article 4. Financial records shall be open to any homeowner upon written request within 48 hours. Patty had skipped both. Jax's cousin worked code enforcement downtown. One call later. "Jax, that non-operational definition doesn't exist in city ordinance. Inside a closed garage? HOA has zero jurisdiction. They're making it up as they go." That afternoon Jax knocked on doors. Quiet nurse across the street had been fined $750 for overgrown landscaping while working double shifts. Single dad 2 houses down got hit for $900 because his kid left a bike out overnight. Retiree on the corner paid $1,200 for unauthorized holiday lights that were up exactly 31 days. Every victim was working class, every fine sudden, every appeal denied by the same 3-person committee Patty chaired with her tennis buddies. Meanwhile, the gated mansions at the top of the hill. Spotless records. Selective enforcement wasn't a bug, it was the business model. Jax filed the public records request himself. When the financials arrived, the numbers screamed, $127,000 in enforcement revenue last year alone. Line item community beautification showed $42,000 collected, $3,800 spent. The rest? Vanished into administrative costs, with Patty's signature all over the transfers. He called his old buddy at the local news station, laid the stack on the desk, and said, "Run it." The article dropped 2 days later. Sunset Ridge HOA under fire. Vintage cars, vanishing funds, and selective fines. By noon every door in the neighborhood had a printed copy taped to it. Patty called an emergency board meeting for that night. Half the community showed up, plus 2 TV crews. Patty stood at the front, voice syrupy sweet. "There seems to be some misunderstanding about our commitment to property values." Jax stood up, calm as a sniper. "Misunderstanding? You find me without the required written warning your own bylaws demand. You ignored financial transparency rules. And according to the city, you've been collecting illegal fines for years. Care to explain where the missing 90 grand went, Patty?" The room erupted. Someone yelled, "Resign." Another shouted, "Show us the books." Patty's face went the color of cheap rose. She tried to gavel the meeting back to order, but the doors opened and 2 sheriff's deputies walked in with a county investigator. Patricia Voss? We have a warrant for your financial records. Multiple complaints of fraud and embezzlement. The silence that followed was beautiful, the kind of quiet that only happens when a bully's empire finally collapses under the weight of its own rules. Patty's mouth opened, closed, opened again like a fish on dry land. This is harassment. I was only enforcing the rules? Jax finished for her, voice low and steady. Funny. Those same rules say board members can be recalled for cause and personally liable for illegal fines. You just spent 2 years writing your own pink slip. She was escorted out, still clutching her clipboard like a shield. The next morning her house was dark, moving truck in the driveway before sunrise. By week's end the county had frozen HOA accounts, and a court-appointed receiver took over. The civil suit filed on behalf of 27 homeowners landed like a Hemi on full boost. Signed affidavits, bank records, even a former board treasurer who'd kept secret spreadsheets showing Patty funneling beautification money into a private account for spa days and consulting fees. The judge didn't just order refunds, he ordered personal restitution from Patty's assets and banned her from ever serving on another HOA board in the state. 3 months later the neighborhood voted in a brand new charter. Randomly selected homeowner review panels instead of a dictator. Full financial transparency posted online monthly. Term limits. Recall petitions. Jax didn't run for the board, he didn't need to. The people who once whispered about his loud garage now waved when he drove the Shelby down the street with the hood up and engine rumbling like freedom itself. Kids played street hockey again. Garage doors stayed open on weekends. The nurse planted a community garden in the median, and nobody issued a single ticket. Jack still restored cars, still collected classics, but now every time he turned a wrench he knew the sound wasn't just horsepower. It was the sound of a neighborhood that finally belonged to the people who lived in it. Patty! She took a plea, paid back every dime she could, and moved to a rented apartment in another county. No HOA, no power, just the echo of her own rules coming back to bite her harder than any fine she ever issued. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive with sirens. Sometimes it rolls in on 4 wide tires, chrome shining, exhaust growling, and a whole community riding shotgun. True or false? In the end, was Patty Voss the real victim of overreach? Or did she finally get the karma she deserved for turning community standards into her own personal cash register?